Right. So very good day to everybody. This is Computer Communication Networks, and in this class we discuss about the various application layer paradigms, the client server programming, www World Wide Web, and of course the hypertext transfer protocol. So this is especially for you, my dear students and young researchers, and you can reach me at dr.christoananth@gmail.com. So before beginning the session, once again let me thank God for giving me this opportunity to deliver this useful session to share my knowledge among my fellow national, international participants, students and young researchers. So in this class, we discuss about the client server model. Then we'll have a brief discussion over servers. Okay. Then how the browser interacts with the server. So that we'll be discussing. What are the various advantages of the client server model? Then we discuss about web page on the client machine. Okay. What are the commonly used browsers? What are the components of the web? Okay. And how you will understand the hypertext transfer protocol using browsers. And we also understand the examples, several examples for understanding the HTTP using the browsers. Okay, so at regular intervals I'll be giving you some short videos to discuss the knowledge in our topics. Fine. So this is client server model. Actually it's a distributed application structure where you are going to partition the task or maybe workload between the providers of the resource or maybe the service. So this one you can call it to be the server, and those who are requesting the service you can call it to be the client. Okay, so here in the client server architecture, whenever the client computer is going to send the request for the data to the server through the internet, the server will be accepting, okay, the requested process, and it will be delivering the data packets back to the client. Okay, so here client will not be sharing any of the resources. So maybe like the client server model, we will be having an example email or maybe World Wide Web, www. Okay, so how the client server model will be working? Okay, so whenever you say client, it means that the person is going to talk. Okay, so that has been established, or maybe the organization is using a particular service. Okay, so similarly the client is a computer or maybe a host. Okay, so it can be able to receive information, or maybe it can use a particular service, okay, from the service provider. So this service provider you can call it to be the server. Okay, so whenever you say server, it means, which means a person or maybe medium which is going to serve something. Okay, even if you go to any particular institution or organization or maybe hotel or restaurant, they are going to service. Okay, so server is nothing but a remote computer which is going to provide information or maybe data, or maybe you are giving an access to a particular service. So it basically means that the client is requesting something and server is going to serve, okay, as long as it is present in the database. Okay, so here we'll be having the server. Okay, we'll be having the server which is actually going to give the service. Okay, and the client is going to request the service, okay, to the phone, okay, PC or maybe laptop. Okay, so here we'll getting the send the request, okay, and here we get the response. So there are some few steps to interact with the server as a client. So the user will be entering the uniform resource locator URL of that particular website or maybe file. So the browser is going to request the domain name server. Okay, so the domain name server look up for the address in the web server, and DNS server, okay, will be responding with the IP address of the web server. Okay, so here the browser will be sending a HTTP hypertext transfer protocol or maybe HTTPS hypertext transfer protocol secure request to the web server IP. Okay, so here the server will be sending the necessary files about the website. Okay, and the browser will be rendering the files and the website is actually displayed. Okay, so here the rendering will be done with the help of the document object model DOM interpreter or maybe CSS interpreter or maybe Java server engine as well. So this one you can call it as the just-in-time compiler. Okay, so this is how the user will be having the request domain. Okay, and it will be having the response IP of the web server event. Okay, so here you will be making the HTTP request to the IP. Okay, and the web server in turn gives a HTTP response with the data files event. Okay. So there is a it's a centralized system, okay, with all the data in a single place, and of course it requires less maintenance cost even, and of course data recovery is quite possible. Okay, and here the advantage is that the capacity of the client and the server can be changed separately even. Okay, but disadvantages, definitely it will have viruses, trojan virus, worms even. Okay, if it is present in the server, or maybe if it is injected into the server. Okay, and the server is subjected to DOS, denial of service attack. Okay, and it can be spoofed or maybe modified during the transmission event. So there will be phishing attacks also, and it can also capture the login credentials or maybe useful information. Okay, so that you can call to be the man in the middle attack. Okay, so that is MITM. Okay. Then we'll go with www, World Wide Web. So it's nothing but the collection of different websites, okay, across the world, where you can have different information shared across the common local server or maybe local computer. So maybe the web will be containing vast worldwide connection of the documents or maybe web pages, and every page will be containing links or maybe several pointing, okay, to the other pages even. Okay, so maybe the earlier, if you can see, Internet Explorer was being used, Netscape Navigator was being used, but now everybody is into Google Chrome. Okay, so these are the popular browsers. Okay, so here the browser will be fetching the page that is requested, the interprets the text as well as the formatting commands, and it will be displaying the page properly formatted, especially on the screen. In the desktop or maybe laptop, it will be showing a formatted screen. Okay, so here the basic model is shown here. Okay, so the browser is actually displaying a web page on the client machine. So whenever the user is clicking on the line of the text that is linked, okay, maybe like www. maybe christoananth.com, okay, server is there. So the browser will be following the hyperlink by sending a message to the website asking it for that particular page. Okay, so here you'll be having scheduler. Okay, so that will be going through multi-thread downloader, so that it will be following the queue pattern. It will be going on as a loop, okay, through the URL, and it will be going to the web pages www, and from this one it will be accessing the text as well as metadata from the storage. So here the browser will be displaying that actual web page on the client machine whenever the user is going to click on the line of the text. Okay, so that is nothing but the hyperlink. Whenever the hyperlink, immediately it will go to that particular page. Okay, in the maybe a website christoananth.com server asking for that particular page. Okay. So the www, normally you will have web browsers, HTML, hypertext markup language, or maybe hypertext transfer protocol even. Okay, so the web browser will be accessing the web pages, and that will be defining like text or maybe data or maybe pictures, okay, animation, video, that it will be accessing on the internet. So there are hyperlinks as well where you can click. Okay, so they can be accessed using the software interfaces. Okay, and whenever you are browsing through the internet, okay, so you can go with search, you can mail, you can transfer, you can send files from one end to another end. Okay, so maybe you can use Google Chrome, Opera Mini, Mozilla Firefox, or maybe Internet Explorer, or maybe Netscape Navigator. So these are the features of www. So you can go with a cross-platform environment. It's a distributed environment. You can have the open standards or maybe open source even. Okay, and here you will be having a single interface for several services. Okay, so normally you can call it to be dynamic, interactive, and of course evolving even. Okay, so that you can call it to be web 2.0. Okay, so here if you can see, the client will be requesting a HTTP. Okay, so that is passed, okay, to the server. Okay, and the server in turn will be giving the hypertext document to the client. Okay, so this is passed across the uniform resource identifier. So these are the components of web. Okay, so you will have URL, uniform resource locator, that will be serving as a system for the resources on the web, and then you will be having HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol, that will be specifying the communication of the browser and the server, and then you will be having HTML, how you define the structure. Okay, HTML tags for organizing and for displaying the content of the web page. And this is how you try to understand the HTTP using the browsers. Okay, so maybe it's a client server protocol when the request is sent by the client, and the user agent or maybe the most of the time the user agent can be the web browser even. Okay, so you can go for typing anything, and maybe you will get access to the application program interface where the robo is going to crawl through the web to maintain the search engine indexing. So here every individual request will be sent to the server, which will be handling it, and it will be providing a answer, or maybe it will be giving a response back. Okay, so this is what it's going through the several client and of course servers even. Okay, so this you can call it to be the proxy. Okay, even for the Wi-Fi, the hotspot that you try to use, you'll have the proxy. Okay, so that will be performing the different operations, okay, which act as gateways or will be cache to the entire process. Okay, so maybe you can understand the HTTP using browsers even. For example, you can go with Google Chrome and you can open a particular website in the incognito mode. Control Shift and then N. If you press, that will go to the incognito mode. So maybe you can go with opening the Chrome developer tools. Okay, and maybe if you go with right click, inspect the page. Okay, that you can go with Control Shift I or maybe Command Shift I, and maybe you can go with selecting the network tab here. Okay. So then press F5 for refreshing the page to actually start the recording the network activities from the Chrome, and maybe you can observe the HTTP request made actually to load the particular website. Okay, but when you try to refresh the page, so all the earlier kinds of activities will be removed and maybe new activities will be loaded again. Okay, so it's just like clearing everything. Okay, so what you do, you can check how many HTTP requests were made by your browser, and maybe you can check how much data has been transferred and how the server has actually responded to your request. Okay, so you can understand what are the images, CSS, and of course JavaScript files or maybe any other sources are required to make the HTTP request and what is the equal response. So maybe if you type the name, okay, Christo Ananth, or maybe in the new tab of the browser, and maybe if you go for the home page, maybe you can press Control Shift and then I, you will go with the inspect part, and maybe you can refresh it so as to understand the process. Okay, so you can scroll to the top of the network identity, okay, and click on the first request. Okay, so maybe you can find the entry in the tab. Okay, you will see the website, okay, as the type, as the document, and this is actually mandatory. Okay, so you can go with the HTTP request in the general section, okay, and you will request the uniform resource locator about the resource that is actually fetched. Okay, then you will go with the request method even. Okay, so that it will be denoting the action that has to be done, and here you are going to get the method. You are going to fetch the resources or maybe details related to the document. So you will be having this response 200 OK. Okay, so that which means that it's a successful request, and here you will be getting the request even. Okay, so you can check the remote address in the general section. Okay, and you'll have the port number 443. So this is a special port number for the thing, the process. Okay, and you can consider where there is a lock icon in the address bar even. Okay, so you can check for the response address and you can check what it actually means. So find out the HTTP request line that is actually sent by the browser to the particular server. Okay, so maybe you can go with https christoananth.com in a new tab, and what would be the changes in the HTTP request line. So you can actually verify the request line for retrieving the new HTML page. Okay, and maybe you can go with the page, the website /home. Okay, so that you can go with the root as well. Okay, so the host requested header will be telling where to actually fetch the resource from.